Hey, happy Thursday. I am so glad that you are with us today. So I hope that you took an opportunity to go out into nature and to worship and to see the things that were going on around you, to experience them and to receive them, to participate in the heavens declaring the wonder of the Lord. I hope you participated in that, that you were caught up by the worship that nature brings. So there, and it feels important to recap the reason why that we are doing this is as a country, as a province, as we begin to get our heads wrapped around on what is a low risk activity and what is a high risk activity, because where we're reasonably safe and where we're a little more at risk. I mean, one of the things that we are coming to realize is that larger groups of people gathering in enclosed spaces with less than ideal circulation is a high risk category. And that kind of describes places of worship, meeting houses, churches. That describes the space that we operate in. We're often in older, not ideally ventilated places, and we tend to sit shoulder to shoulder, and we project our voices in song, in prayer, which just is a fancy way to say that we are breathing on one another, rhythmically, and we're gonna figure that out in the next handful of weeks and months, and the best ways to make that as safe as possible for us to gather together when that is possible. But until it is possible, it's important to know that there are other ways for us to worship around us. And I have been so appreciative of you connecting in with us through being outside in our FM service, or through our podcast, or through our digital church on Sundays, or this right now. But there are still some other options. And nature is one of them. As we're firmly stepping into spring, things are beginning to get really nice outside. What can we do? There's this other passage in Psalms, perhaps not as popular or not as well quoted as Psalm 19, but this is Psalm 24. It's one of David's. The earth is the Lord's, and all its fullness, the world and those who dwell in it. I mean, this is David reminding people that everything around us, that the entire world is ultimately God's. Everything we use, everything we see, everything we experience, that it has all been either directly or indirectly created by God. I mean, there's an old joke that I heard that it's not funny, but I always think about it whenever we talk about creation, and it's the God and someone decides that they want to have a contest on how to make a pie from scratch, an apple pie from scratch. And as the human baker begins to start, the Lord says, "Whoa, hold on! You need to make your own apples. Like, get your own trees. Like, so this is all mine. You can't use my stuff to start from scratch." And that's just it. I mean, everything around us is ultimately the Lord's. When we look in Genesis, one of the things that we should walk away from is that we were asked to be stewards of God's creation. That we were asked to be caretakers, not taskmasters, not slave drivers, not bosses, but stewards. That we are the caretakers, and we've not always done a great job of that. And as we are trying to get out into nature, as we are taking our walks with God and are experiencing our sunrises and our sunsets, it's also important to take a look around us and say, all of this is God's. How will that impact the way I treat it, the way I interact with it? Let me read again. The earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. For he founded it on the seas and established it on the waters. I mean, that's just poetic way of saying that everything used to be in chaos and God put it all in order, that it is all his. And that should inform the way we interact with the world. So here are two tasks that I'd like you to consider carrying out over the next handful of days, until Sunday or until we meet again, or forever if they resonate with you. And here they are. So first, find a piece of the world around you and aim to make it more beautiful. If we are stewards of this world, if we are caretakers of this world, if God helped take the world as the Bible tends to depict it, as he moved it from chaos to order, then we can take an opportunity and do the same thing. Maybe you're doing this in your own home. You're bringing some beauty of nature into your house. Maybe you happen to have a yard or a garden that you can cultivate. Maybe as you are walking, as you are moving around in nature, you're taking time to be on trails or beaches, you're just walking on the sidewalk, and you are noticing that people are not always cautious with how they use nature, and trash can be around. Picking up trash, planting a garden, cultivating plants in your own home, these can be acts of worship. These can be acts of you being the kind of steward that God wanted you to be. It's one of your tasks. Take an opportunity around you and help make God's world just a little bit more beautiful, or restore some of the beauty that it otherwise would have had. Second, become familiar with the diversity of nature that surrounds you at all times. If you showed me right now a piece of paper with a dozen or so leaves on them, I could probably name 2 or 3. Like, I would get maple leaf 100%. I'm 50-50 on whether I would catch a birch or an oak tree right, but I'm reasonably sure I would. After that, who knows? No idea. Same thing. If you were to show me a picture of native birds to Nova Scotia, I would get blue jay and robin, crow, seagull. Those ones, no problem. After that, I don't know, that little yellow one that shows up in my house sometimes. The one that looks like the yellow one but is kind of brown. A thing that I found out the other day was a woodpecker, even though it definitely did not look like what I imagine woodpeckers are supposed to look like. Thanks, Cheryl. And this is just what we can do. Take an opportunity. See how many flowers you can actually name. Again, I max out at dandelions, buttercups, roses, tulips, and I start to not be able to recognize them after that. But we can't care for the world if we don't know anything about it, especially the world that's the nature that God has created that is just outside of our windows, right around our doorsteps. How much of it do you know about? What can you learn? What can you recognize? Because if you were to show me a sheet of paper with about 20 company logos on it, I bet you I could name them all, plus or minus. If you showed me a list of all of the social media platforms out there, I would recognize all of them. I might not use all of them, but I know most of them. But I can't do that with nature. Maybe you can. But take an opportunity to learn a little bit more about what's going on around you. You may find that your own property lines, your own neighborhood is a much livelier and diverse place than you realize. So that's it. That's what our tasks are this week. So at the beginning of the week, and I hope you engaged, you took time to really sit in and sink in and kind of hear the worship song that nature offers to God. And now you get to fulfill that role of steward. You get to acknowledge that the world is God's and that we are stewards in it. We can leave our place a little bit more beautiful around us, and we can learn a little bit more. We can learn how to be better stewards of nature, better neighbors to the nature that God has provided, better neighbors to our people around us, our actual neighbors, who may appreciate our kindness towards nature. So that's it from me today. I hope you have a blessed day. We'll look forward to connecting with you on Sunday for our digital service. Stay safe and God bless.